Hey, what's up everyone? This is Ill Factor from beatacademy.com, and in this video I'm going to share with you some music production tips while recreating the beat in Katy Perry's Never Really Over. And we're going to be doing this in GarageBand. So let's dive right in. Let's start by creating a blank session here in GarageBand and heading over to the tempo, double clicking that and changing that to 100 BPMs. That's the tempo that our reference track is in. And then we're going to go ahead and focus our attention on creating the drum pattern. So for this, let's head over to the electronic drum kit and go with our first selection here in After Party. And then what I'm going to do is, while holding the command button, we're going to simply click and then that's going to draw in a 1-bar region that we can input the data that we want to play back. So let's just double click that and look for a kick drum sound. We're going to start by placing a kick. So I'll head over to C1 and draw in our kick. And then what we're going to do is just go ahead and duplicate this to create a 4 on the floor pattern. So by holding the Option key, we're going to click and drag over. And there you go. And then what I'm going to do is just make sure that we're looping the first 4 bars for right now. And then we can go ahead and drag that over to the right. And that's just going to continuously play that 4 on the floor pattern from the kick. And I'm going to take the metronome off because it's playing at the same time. All right, and then double click this and let's just label that as kick. Now we're going to do a little bit of sound design here with this kick drum because there's a lot of that bottom end that we want to get rid of. So we can head over here to the mixing window and we're going to head to the EQ. And with this EQ, we're simply going to use the EQ to kind of shape that kick drum a little bit. Enable the low cut here and we're going to click that and drag that. Now it's best to just listen back while doing this so that you're not really getting used to just kind of mixing. Good spot there. And then I'm going to go and do the high cut. So we're cutting away some of the highs and take away some of that high end. So we're not getting that sharp laser beam that we're hearing on the kick drum. And we can click on the analyzer and this can help visualize what's going on with the kick drum as well. Then we'll use another band here in this EQ to take away some of more of that rubbery type of sound. I'm going to go here to the Q to narrow in, specifically focus on that frequency. With a smaller Q, you have a wider range that you're affecting with the EQ. So when it's narrow, you're really specifically focusing on that specific band. Back here to the low one. Nice tight punchy kick there. Let's go ahead and duplicate this by hitting Command D, and we'll call this snare. And same pattern. We're going to go ahead and Command click. Give ourselves a 1 region there, and let's go ahead and find a snare drum that we can use in this kick. So let's move over here. There's our snare drum. And we're going to put this on the 2 and on the 4. I'm also going to click this and then hold the Option key and bring this up so that I'm going to layer that with that little rim knock, so it's getting the clap and the rim knock together, just giving it a little bit more punch to the snare drum. But we've also duplicated the EQ settings from the kick drum, so that's why it sounds kind of muffled. So heading to the mixing control window, EQ, let's go ahead and take all the EQ that we've done for the kick away. Now we'll go ahead and extend this out as well. And now we'll go ahead and duplicate this and let's just create a hi-hat pattern. And same thing here, it's duplicating the same controls and things that we've added from the snare onto this, but repeating the same process over. We're going to go ahead and now find a hi-hat. I'm just simply triggering this electronic drum kit with my MIDI controller. So I'm now looking for where that is, right here. So let's go ahead and do that. Now what we're trying to do is create this pattern a 16th note pattern. So I'm going to narrow this down here and then hold the Option key to go ahead and duplicate that. So do that. And then what I'm going to do here is cool. We're going to use velocity to add a little bit of more of a humanistic feel to it. If I play the hi-hat pattern back, the hi-hat are playing that 16 note pattern, but yet it's a bit stiff, that robotic dot 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 dot. So by just manipulating a little bit of velocity from one note to the other, you're going to create more of a humanistic swing, or not swing, but necessarily a feel to it. So this is what I'm talking about. Click the first hi-hat, that's set at velocity 80. Then the second hi-hat, we're going to go ahead and lower that velocity so that the velocity is significantly lower, and it won't be playing, it's not going to play as loud as the first one. So that means that the first note will be accented. It's going to be in bold. If you know, like if you're typing a letter and you highlight specific letters and you bold it, you guys know what I mean. So now with that in play, we're going to highlight that and copy that over. So we have one with the velocity set at 80 and the other set with the velocity set at 42. So let's copy that pattern over, and we'll do that. Move that over here and do that again. Now this will be the difference. So now that adds life to that, as opposed to having them all straight, which if we did that, go ahead, undo that. Hear how it's accenting that. We can add more to the accent by adding another instrument just on that quarter note count. So shaker would be good. So let's extend this out, put it there for the quarter note, and there we go, like that. To lower the volume of the shaker, I can go and lower the velocity as well. Let's extend this loop here like that and lower the hi-hats. Now let's go ahead and focus on the chords that we hear during the chorus of the song. Now for this, I'm going to use a third-party audio unit instrument. And the reason for that is I'm going to have a little bit more freedom to craft and sound design the patch to get it to what we hear on the reference record, as opposed to the built-in instruments and synthesizers that come with GarageBand, which are very easy to use because they have customized settings, and so you don't really have to go under the hood to do a lot of tweaking. So for that, we're going to hit the plus sign here and create a new software instrument. And then I'm going to go over here where it says plugins, click that down, and change the plugin that comes with this software instrument over to AU instruments, audio unit instruments. And so if you have any audio units installed in your computer, you can go ahead and see them populate here. I'm going to use Lennar Digital's Sylenth. It's a great all-around synth to use, and it's going to be really useful to getting the sound that we're looking for here. So immediately hearing the sound in my head, very bright. It's got some little low-grade bit distortion on it, but we definitely hear some side chaining, some pulsing going on. So let's go ahead and begin crafting that. So really quickly, at a glance, what we're seeing here in Sylenth is 1, 2, and then when we switch over to part B, 3, 4. 4 different oscillators that you can use. So let's focus on part A, oscillator 1. Okay, now I'm going to go to menu, hit preset, and clear so that I can walk you through each step of this process. So choose sawtooth as our waveform. And then what we're going to do is go to polyphony and change that from 3 to 8 or any other number higher than 3, because we're going to be playing chords. And if you only have 3 notes polyphony, that means the moment you play 3 notes, you play an extra, the 4th note, 1 note will drop off. So let's give ourselves 8 notes here. Now let's start by turning on our built-in arpeggiator, and the mode, instead of up, going to chord, because we're going to play the chords and we're going to have the synth just arpeggiate those chords. All right, so then let's go ahead and change the timing over to maybe every 16th note and extend the gate. Now, what needs to be done is let's do some filter and add some modulation to that. So here is filter A. This is going to be affecting oscillators part A, all the oscillators for part A. What filter type? Let's use a low pass filter. And a little bit of drive. Now over here in the mod section, we want it to modulate the actual filter. So let's click this and say modulate both cutoff A and B. And we're going to bring the sustain down and bring the decay up a little bit like that. And then just turn up the value. Turn up how much of this modulation is going to affect the filter. So now we can go down here and lower the cutoff of the filter control. That's what gives us that nice little plucky type vibe. And the more I send of that modulation envelope 1, the more value I give that little knob, the more extreme or the more impact it's going to have on the filter. So now what we're going to do is head over to the distortion menu, click that on, and inside that, let's choose decimate. That gives us that nice little 8-bit crunch that we're hearing. All right, so now I'm going to just open this up. So before we move forward anymore, let's go ahead and input the chords, and then we can shape this up a little bit more. Now going back, double click this, and let's make sure all of our regions are, I'm going to hit Command A to select them, and simply hit the time quantize. Let's hit this button here to the cue. And there you go. That's going to snap everybody to the nearest 16th note. Okay, now let's go ahead and shape the sound just a little bit more. So it might not have so much of that digital distortion. I'm going to go to the second oscillator here, and I'm going to choose a sawtooth as well. And I'm going to open up the voices in here. We're going to give a little bit more voicing so I can do some detuning here, and that's going to give it some nice stereo width. And I'm going to take the second oscillator and go a whole octave higher and just lower the volume and just blend the mix a little bit. Now let's go ahead and manipulate the amp envelope here. That's going to affect the overall shape of the sound. And I'm going to go to the chorus section and apply the chorus. Let's check that on and just crank some of the from the dry and wet. Let's just see, get it to a place where we like it. And add some reverb there as well. And let's see. Add a little bit of compression here. I'm actually going back to the arpeggiator and open up the gate a little because I think it's just a little too choppy. And what I mean by that is it's a little too tight. Cool. Now, also replicating the process, what we're going to do is use another third-party plugin here to add a lot of that that side chaining effect that we're hearing here. So I'm going to go to the audio effects section here, click, and I'm going to go over to my audio units, and I'm going to use a really simple, easy plugin by Nico Romero. It's called Kickstart, and that's just going to instantly create that side chaining pulsing effect on there. I'm just going to lower that in the mix. Now, speaking of lowering in the mix, it's kind of hard to grasp where I'm at with my overall balance or my overall mix in GarageBand, meaning my master fader, because technically it's up here. You can head over here to where it says mix and then create a volume fade out on main output. And what that's going to do is it's actually going to create a master track. You can see the master track here. Then with the automation being visible now, I can just highlight that little fade that it's created and hit delete. So it deletes those points. And then just click this automation button so that we can go out of that automation mode. And I'll just hit show automation there. Okay. So now we have the master track there. It's just easier for me now to click that and go to the plugins and put something like a metering plugin. So I'm right now going to be using the IK Multimedia metering right here. So I have the metering plugin here, which can give me a better landscape of where I'm at volume wise. And I can also start putting some things there on the master fader to just get my overall sound and balance where I want it. It was just kind of hard for me to gauge how loud how loud my mix is and what my average volume is. And even if I'm ready to go and bounce and print what I'm creating out into my streaming platforms, I kind of want to do want to have an idea where I am at loudness wise. So this is very helpful. Okay, so let's go ahead and create the bass line by duplicating the synth track, Command D, and we're also going to hit Option and drag the same region over. And we're going to eliminate the chords here. So let me just minimize this, highlight this, and just leave the bass notes in place. That way we can isolate the bass track and focus more on creating an overall tone with that. So let's just solo that and double click this and check out the synth here. So instead of going an octave up, let's just try going an octave lower so we can get more information on the bottom end. And I'm going to go ahead and choose, instead of sawtooth, a sine for the second oscillator. And maybe take the chorus off, switch it to mono so that we're focusing on not having any notes overlap, no reverb, and maybe just a little bit less of that distortion. Maybe just opening up the amp envelope like a little bit more sustain and delay. That'll give a little bit more body to the bass. Now that the bass is in line, let's go ahead and check everything out. Cool, and I can go to that master track again and use some compression, some EQ. So I can use the EQ here to just shape the overall mix a little bit, give a little bit more low end, some brightness here, and then maybe use some more third-party plugins. So I've got another T-Rax plugin here, the TR51, amazing, just boosting up some body, air, bass punch, adding some width, and a lot of harmonic distortion to the track. That's what the analog knob is. So let's go ahead and turn that on and see what we're getting with the overall balance. Now I want to make sure I'm using my metering here, so see where we're at. So I'll use a limiter that comes with GarageBand, double click that, and make sure that, 0.6, we'll leave it at 0. My output level, I want my output level to be 0.6, and we'll leave that there. So now we'll go back to the metering. Well, hey, I hope this video has been helpful for you, and as my gift to you for watching this video, I'd love to send you a PDF guide that I've put together called The 5 Steps to Creating a Professional Beat. This comes from years of experience of working with some of today's biggest artists. And whether you're a beginner or an advanced music producer, this is going to be a helpful resource for you to look over and help you speed your productions and getting them to sounding the way you want them to. Now this is yours absolutely free. Just click the link below in the description box, or you can visit www.beatacademy.com/5steps to download your free guide today. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.